Hello everybody, I'm Gwen Campbell-Mindes. Welcome to Gwen's Bookish Ramblings, and today we are on book 4 of the Dr. Dolittle series, Dr. Dolittle Circus. Hey, I found a copy of this at my regular library. Ebook library, because I am too lazy to go to an actual library with the real books. Also, you have no idea how hard it is to track down paperbacks in the library. Anyways, moving on. Dr. Dolittle Circus. This is a lovely cover. I really, really like this cover. This is one of the nicest covers I've ever seen, actually. Because, I like it. It's, evocative, and the line drawings are neat, and they're just sort of like this squiggled blue, ballpoint pen sort of image, which is really, it's really cool. I like this one. I haven't actually looked up who did this cover, so I'm not even sure if that's, referenced anywhere in the ebook. If I find it, I'll put it into the description. Assuming you're interested, which you may not be. The rest of this, however, has been illustrated by Hugh Lofting. You can see the HL in the corner, and this is back to the, interestingly stylized pictures that I love so much. I really, really love those background tree things that he does with these arching, twisty branches that, I commented on it when I was talking about, Post Office, and the images that Hugh Lofting did for the mangrove swamp. Well, he's done the same thing here in this, and it's really neat. So this is the doctor setting up to have tea with, the various animals. The plot line of this one, Dr. Dolittle Circus, begins with the doctor's return from his first trip to Africa. This is sort of a jump back in time to after his initial trip to Africa, I believe. And what happens is he's out of money. And one of the things that he did was he came back from Africa with the strangest animal he could possibly find, which we are seeing only one head of off to the side, and that's the Push Me Pull You. I poked around until I found a picture of it, but that's a few images further down, so we'll get there when we get there. But the Push Me Pull You is obviously fictional. It is a two-headed animal that basically it has a head at the front and a head at the rear and no rear end. It's got a head instead of a butt. So it's, the kind of animal that would make great circus sideshow fodder. So that's what the doctor is basically planning on doing, is finding a circus, and he'd travel around with it, and he would put the Push Me Pull You on display with its consent to be on display, because the doctor can talk to animals, so he has gotten the Push Me Pull You's agreement to be seen. And the idea is that they'll travel around. It'll be relatively easy money because they've got the weirdest animal ever seen, and people will want to see that, and they'll pay good money to see it. And once they've got enough money, they can head back to Puddleby, and the doctor can, go back to his life having enough money to live off of. So, here we see a reasonably decent picture of the Push Me Pull You. That is, not two antelope-y things, but in fact a single antelope-y thing, which, like I said, has got a head, and then it's got another head in place of its butt. There is also Tutu the owl, who is the doctor's accountant, and Dab Dab the duck, who is his housekeeper, and Jip the dog, who is just kind of an awesome friend, and Gub Gub the pig, who is there. Gub Gub is, he's very much one of those comic relief characters who you're not quite sure why he's there from a narrative perspective, save that, I suppose he always acts as a great audience proxy if you need somebody you have to explain things to, because he's not that bright. Anyways, so they set out and they join up with a circus, bringing along with them Matthew Mugg the Cat's Meat Man. That is, he's a man who tries various jobs but keeps on winding up going back to selling basically pet food. And Matthew Mugg's wife, who, by the way, is sort of the unsung hero of this book, because Matthew Mugg comes along and he gets the Doctor, finds the Doctor Circus to join up with, and he supports the Doctor in all of his schemes. And, when they need an emergency replacement for their ringmaster, Matthew Mugg steps up to the plate and does a fantastic job, at least according to the book. And he supports the Doctor and believes in him, and he's a great all-round guy. But his wife is the one who knocks the ringmaster and one of the ringmaster's bully boys into the pool so that, she helps the Doctor with the escaping seal, which we will get to in a moment. She's the one who helps make all of the costumes when the animals put on a play. She is the one who, keeps things running and keeps things moving and keeps things organized. She does a whole bunch of things, and the fact that she's married to Matthew Mugg, who is just he's not the brightest he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but he's a really, street smart, nice guy. And the fact that she's married to him and happily married and goes along with all this stuff means she's really well matched. She's great. But she's just kind of an unsung hero of this book. So, yes, I mentioned the Doctor and the seal. Well, there's a seal who, like many wild animals in zoos, is being kept captive. And one day she learns that her husband, back in Alaska, he was the leader of their seal pod, but after she got taken by people to the circus, he just sort of fell apart and became depressed and didn't want to do his job as the head of the seal pod, and so the seals have been cycling through leaders and falling apart, and so she decides she absolutely has to escape and go home to help Slushy, her husband Slushy, and so the Doctor helps her escape, and so this is a picture of a man and his seal balanced on a garden wall, because as she is a circus seal, she has learned how to climb ladders, so in the process of escaping, they hide in the back garden of an abandoned house, and the way they get in there is the Doctor manages to find a ladder, and she climbs the ladder up onto the wall, and then slides down the ladder on the other side, and they hide out in the back garden. This is an adventure with many trials and travails. They wind up being mistaken for a couple of highwaymen at one point, and then at the very end of the whole trip, the Doctor basically pitches her over a cliff because she's like, oh my god, there's the ocean, just throw me and I'll be fine. And he does as she wants, because she's a seal, she swims, she'll be fine. And he is instantly arrested for the murder of his wife, a wife that he doesn't have, but everybody saw him carrying a bundle of something alive covered in women's clothes up to a cliff and then pitching it over the side of the cliff. So everybody thinks that he just murdered his wife. Luckily, the Doctor runs into a sort of friend of his who bails him out because he says, listen, it was just a seal, and I was just returning to the ocean, and his sort of friend says, oh, yeah, okay, it's you. Yeah, okay, it was a seal. Yes, I believe you, because that's how you are. And the Doctor repays him by ruining his hobby. Because this is a man who loves fox hunting, which, whatever you may think of fox hunting, this is a man who really, really loves it, and the Doctor basically manages to ruin all of the fox hunting in the region by basically providing all of the foxes little bottles of camphor and eucalyptus so that the dogs can't smell any, they can smell the camphor and eucalyptus, but that doesn't smell like a fox, so they all get confused and also are, really grossed out by camphor and eucalyptus, because that's awful. So the dogs all stop being useful in fox hunting, and so the fox hunting stops, and, this particular magistrate's just like, God damn it, John Dolittle. You said you'd stop fox hunting? Well, you've stopped it around here, haven't you? So he manages to ruin a man's hobby. towards the end of the book, the Doctor is convinced to put on a play which appears to be very, very heavily based on Commedia dell'arte, because it's a pantomime thing, and Dab Dab the Duck, here represented because I just happen to love this illustration of Dab Dab curtsying in her tutu. And it's just, I really, really like this picture. It's just this wonderfully graceful, weird, abstract image of a duck in a tutu, and I kind of love this. The Doctor makes a pantomime for the animals, and so then teaches them how to do a pantomime, and they do a pantomime, and everybody is really, really enthused, and then the ringmaster gets $2,000, which I want to be clear, these books are set in about 1820. And so $2,000 in, like, 1820, we're talking about something that's probably equivalent to 100,000 or maybe even more. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot of money. Like, yes, $2,000 is not chump change for most of us, but we're talking about enough money that, like, that this ringmaster would just run off with it and, you know, use it as the basis for a fortune. And at that point, the Doctor is out of money because he wound up paying for food for all of the animals at the circus, so all the money that he had previously made with various things has been eaten up again, much to the despair of Dab Dab the Duck and Tutu the accountant owl. At which point, they find out that he's taken off, and the circus basically elects Dr. Dolittle to be their new ringmaster leader person. So he winds up taking over the circus and creating the most honest circus, because of course he's a very honest man, and one of his things that he doesn't want to do is he doesn't want to say this is the biggest show on earth, the greatest show on earth, the largest elephant ever, the only one captive in wherever, because as far as he's concerned, it's dishonest. And so in one of those interesting, hopeful things that only happens in children's novels really is they start doing brisk business because everybody realizes that, sure, the Doctor isn't really selling the steak as well as the sizzle, but at least they know that whatever he says he has, he actually has. Also, he starts insisting on serving everybody tea and giving kids free bags of peppermint, so everybody also comes because they get a nice mid-afternoon tea as well as going to see the circus. So the book kind of peters out at the very end. Like, the other books so far have all ended with the Doctor basically saying, and now I'm going back home to Puddleby, where I will live happily in my home, at least until I have another wild adventure. But in this case, it just sort of ends with the Doctor having taken over the circus, and all of the animals being very, very grateful Matthew Mugg is there, because Matthew Mugg is really the one with the head for business and the one who understands advertising. So based on Matthew Mugg, who at the start of the book had wanted nothing more than to be part of a circus, this is probably a dream come true, so I'm pretty sure that the Doctor has managed to make Matthew Mugg happy, even if Dab Dab the Duck is incredibly depressed that they're not going home yet. Anyways, this book is a great deal of fun. The ongoing plaints about the Doctor's spendthrift nature and his inability to actually save any money is you know, very entertaining. And like I said, I love the illustrations, and I think actually that's everything. Yeah. You want to know more about what happens? You should read the book, and then you can find out all about how the Doctor and a seal got confused for highwaymen. So that's everything, and I will see you all next week.